All right, these are your covalent nomenclature notes. Make sure that you are taking these in your journal. So covalent compound naming rules, they're fairly similar to the ionic compound naming rules. So the first element in the formula is always named first. So remember, with covalent bonds, you don't have a cation and then an anion. It's just, if I'm looking at the formula, whatever is first is named first using the entire name. All right, so you don't have to switch it up with prefixes with suffixes. The second element in the formula is named second using its root and adding the suffix "ide." So remember, this is very similar to what we do with ionic compound naming. You always end it with the "ide." The only difference here is that for both of these, we're going to use prefixes to indicate the number of atoms of each element that are present in the compound. The only exception is that if the first element only has one atom, so it doesn't have any kind of subscript, then you do not use a prefix. All right, so when I'm talking about prefixes, this is the table that you're going to want to copy into your notes. All right, it has the number of atoms on the left side and then the prefix that goes with it. So 1, mono, 2 is di, tri, tetra, penta, hexa, hepta, octa, nona, and deca. All right, for the purpose of this class, we won't go above 10, but these are the common covalent prefixes that you will need. So take a moment and copy these down. All right, so some examples. If I have CO, following my rules, I'm going to name the first element first, right, which is carbon. Now remember, carbon only has one C, so I don't need to say monocarbon because it's the first element. And if the first element only has one atom, you do not include a prefix. So I have carbon, and then I only have one oxygen, so the prefix becomes mono, and then oxide. But instead of saying monooxide, right, because that gets redundant, usually you remove the last and it becomes monoxide. All right, so carbon monoxide, very dangerous gas. The next example we have is P2O5. So the 2 tells me that my prefix is di. So I have diphosphorus. And then the O has a 5 subscript. So there's 5 oxygens. So it's pentoxide. So you'll notice instead of saying pentaoxide, I took the A out and just went pentoxide. So most of the time this happens with oxygen and oxides. The last example, I have 1 chlorine, so I'm going to say chlorine, and 3 Fs, so I say trifluoride. All right. We're also going to do a little bit of naming binary acids. So a binary acid is simply an acid that contains hydrogen and one other element. So the rules are really simple. It's always going to be a 2-word name. The first word has the prefix hydro, and that names the hydrogen part of it. The rest of that first word consists of the root of the second element plus the suffix ic. All right, and then the second word is always acid. So it's hydro something, ic, acid. So my example is HCl. So I have hydro, and then my other element is chlorine. So I'm going to use the root of that, which is chlor, hydrochloric acid. All right, we'll get some practice with these. And that's it. So these are pretty short notes. Make sure you have them down in your journal and come show them to me before you pick up your practice.